Pleasant good morning to all our listeners and viewers. Welcome to another episode of Voices. My name is Socrates, and I'm here with my ever awesome co-host, Margaret Stevens. It's welcome to the first day of March 2021 from the studios of 98.9 WINN FM. We're launching another episode of Voices, and we don't have any prepared agenda today, so we're going to just go with the flow. I have tons of folks to say good morning to, but I'm going to let my host introduce herself and talk for a bit because we just starting. We got a bit late, I'll tell you why. But in the meantime, as we would say, ladies first. Going to put on the spot.
Good morning. My name is Margaret Stevens, and I'm co-hosting today. Had a good weekend. Did you have a good weekend?
I had a lovely weekend.
Okay, good.
A lovely weekend, and I was looking forward to being here with you this morning because the world is saying that we need Margaret on this program. You're just there as a standby, so yes.
No, we don't.
And of course, the engineer's over there from A to A. He's all excited every time you show up. So, that's one of the pluses of having talent and personality.
I feel flattered. I feel very flattered that people are actually asking for me.
Yes. Okay. That's connection.
So, should we give them the phone numbers?
Yes, well, yes. I need a Wi-Fi connection, internet connection here. But in the meantime,
I'll give the phone numbers out.
You do yourself.
Okay. So if you want to call in, the numbers are 466-0989, 662-0989, 762-0989. And if you're calling from the States, it's 7182656984 or 5089214619. And if you're calling from the UK, it's 0333 044065.
Beautiful. And at this time, if you don't mind sending shout-outs to our regular listeners, those who are logged on and want to send us represent information by text during the program.
Okay.
Want to send a shout to Amber, especially over there in Anguilla. And she sent me pictures of her taking her vaccination.
She did? Oh, lovely.
Yeah. First she was there squirming in the chair. I said, but why did you look like a lamb being led to the slaughter? And she said she didn't even feel the injection.
Okay.
Now, there's a term that other people use. They didn't even feel the prick. But yes, she did receive a vaccination, and she's proud of it. And so, yes, she sent me pictures of her doing so. So Anguilla they've started the rollout. They're taking the vaccinations. We would have started ours last Monday.
Monday, yes.
So that's Amber over there in Anguilla. Then we have Chris Collins up there in Sheffield. He's normally logged on, especially now that you're here.
Morning, Chris.
Yeah. There's Brenda O'Neill. She's back in Charlotte, North Carolina. She was on vacation in Mexico. She's a travel agent, so she's still traveling around speaking about the industry, how it's affecting, and, when we're going to open up. Then we have our friend next door in Montserrat.
Okay.
I don't know his name.
Montserrat.
I call him Montserrat. And he understands. Then we have the DJ Maury Shaw up there in the Bronx. We've got Mr. Peter Inganjuri at the SKNDB. He's an affiliate for the Journalist.
Okay.
And Inganjuri, that's, he's Nigerian and very proud to be so. Then we have, of course, I can't say elder, Sister Sylvine Henry.
Okay, yes.
They don't want to make really contributions.
Yes.
If I may digress a bit, we're a bit late. We're not really late, but we started about 5 minutes past. That's because I took time out to go and pay my last respects to this Betty Lamb.
Okay.
Her funeral is still in process.
Right.
The ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped right there, spent about 15 minutes because I had to be here for 11.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with tributes. Monarch did a wonderful rendition of People Like You.
Okay.
And then this leader, who owns the Grange, she spoke to some extent about her friendship with Miss Lamb for going back some 20 years. When she first returned and opened up the service over there, in her words, Betty wanted to know who dared use the name of a child at home, the Grange.
Mm-hmm.
And so they came and there was interaction and that friendship, she said it was actually a true bond of friendship that lasted 20 years.
Wonderful.
I spoke to her, eventually being her last caretaker and all that. But I must say it's very, very well attended.
Okay.
Very well attended. Parking space, you can't find.
Okay.
And I only found out on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
According to Adrian, they didn't really put a whole lot of information out there.
Yeah.
But the story of her life is remarkable. And as Monarch says, just about every adult in the Boyd's Trinity area would have benefited from her kindness because they owned then what was the Fairview Inn. It was a very popular night spot, hotel, / etc., etc. And so that's, she's being paid her due recognition and respect.
Oh, wonderful.
And based on knowing her, interacting with her and her sister, well, the family in general, Adrian, Sandra, etc. I had to go, and so that's why we're running a bit late. But the funeral of the late Betty Lamb is still in process over at the Limega Funeral Home.
Okay.
And if you want to have a look at it, lovely lady. I know you don't. Sorry, you don't do.
Don't do.
So that's what's happening at the moment here in St Kitts. It's about 10 minutes past the hour of 11. And the numbers were given out. If you wish to join us in any topic today, we don't have any prepared topic. It's just going to be easy flow of conversation. We have stuff to talk about. And the numbers again, once again, are 466-0989, 662-0989, 762-0989. From the New York area, we have the 718. And I need to change my glasses.
718-2656-984.
Okay, and the other one, since you come to my rescue.
508-921-4619. And the UK, 03-3304-40065.
Okay.
Okay.
I had a guest that we discussed would be here this morning. Of course, she works for the establishment, so the last moment, she was updated on having to be at a meeting at this particular point in time.
Right.
I attended, she's a playwright, very popular playwright, and versed in culture, studied dance, all that, so I thought it would. Hello, good morning, caller. Welcome to Voices.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Welcome to Voices.
Yes, the King. Good morning.
How are thou?
I just want to congratulate the lady who I don't have a name right now, but the lady who is now the head of the World Trade Organization from Nigeria. I think those are big things that are happening now that we should try and focus on, and just hope that we can have some elimination of certain lifestyle on the continent of Africa for those young people. You know, they've been doing trading as of the 1st of January, and now that she is the head of the World Health Organization, I hope that, we can have some on the continent of Africa and for our race of people the world over. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to look up a name so we can get more of that discourse ongoing. I need to send out apologies to Mr. Inganjuri. He informed me he's Kenyan. He's died 3 times. Kenyan.
Oh, right, okay.
Proud to be so. My apologies, okay? Yes, we have incoming calls, which we can take in a moment. WTO member made history on the 15th of February when the General
Good morning, caller. Welcome to Voices.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sister Henry.
Morning,
Good morning.
Socrates.
Good morning, Socrates with the O.
What's the first name for the lady?
Margaret.
Margaret.
Yes.
Morning, Margaret. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yes. Well, good morning to all the listeners at home and abroad. Well, I'm giving God thanks, Jehovah God. I have to make sure I call it the right God.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for his kindness and his goodness to me. This is the month of March, which
Yes.
is my month.
Okay, your birth month?
Yeah, man.
Oh, wonderful. So you're going to celebrate for the
No matter
whole
what you say
month?
about March, it's great just to be alive.
Oh, yes.
It's the third month, you know.
Yes.
And with the corona thing going around, every month you make, you better give God thanks.
Yes, that's so true.
I want to address maybe 2 or 3 issues. It won't be too long. If anybody call,
Okay.
just tell me.
Yes, we
Okay.
will.
Now, let me start with my good friend Africa. Africa, when you're calling, could you please raise your voice? He has a lot to say, but his voice has been so low.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he has missed training, so Africa, I know you're listening. Please lift up your voice.
Okay.
Oh, that's one. Now, the Nigerian lady is the head of the
World Trade Organization.
Organization, not WHO.
No,
It's different.
WTO.
WTO,
Mm-hmm.
which has to do with the issue of trade,
Yes.
free trade,
Mm-hmm.
unhindered trade,
And fair
I hope-
trade.
we have all kind of hopes, you know, but
Yes.
remember that she's guided by the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we think we get confused. And countries are willing to take other countries to court when
Yeah.
they break the rules. But interestingly, I went to India in 1995, and I met the gentleman, I forgot his name. He had been the head of the WTO for years.
Okay.
Yet, in India, they were practicing protectionism. And they were not ashamed to say it.
Okay.
That they were not going to allow other countries to flood their market. There was
Yeah.
the issue of milk.
Yeah.
I went to an area called Gujarat, Ahmedabad,
Mm-hmm.
which is the industrial section of India. And they were saying, look, Amsterdam, and they wanted to bring in milk, which is cheaper. And they were blocking it. So sometimes, even though it takes organizations, and this was the gentleman, he was unapologetic about allowing Western, he even spoke about these franchises.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were not going to allow them just to come in to sell chicken.
Yeah.
If they had a KFC, it had to sell chicken done Indian way,
Yes.
along with other Indian things. Because sometimes I ask people, why can't the local poultry farms supply KFC with chicken?
Mm-hmm.
You hear, oh, this is what the franchise agreement and story. So enough of that. Now, and we had an issue, not an issue, there was a topic discussed on Inside the News on Saturday
Mm-hmm.
about our local heroes,
Okay.
national heroes.
Yeah.
And I am at a loss. People feel that if somebody is a national hero,
Mm-hmm.
only the
Are they a
good side
politician?
of them must be discussed.
Only what?
The good side of them should be discussed.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And people also equate, well, the person was a lover of Africa and this and Africa and that. But I, for one, have always contended, do not tell me you're African conscious and you do not love or respect the black woman.
Okay.
I don't care what Africa
Interesting.
stands to say
Mm-hmm.
or clothes you put on. Because the woman is right there by you. Why are these lot of African conscious vocal people having children up and down the place? Is there not one good black woman for you to marry and establish an African conscious home?
Mm-hmm.
Can we overlook it?
Yes.
When you look at a lot of these talking, oh, Africa, Africa, Africa. And then you find out that they ill-treat the wife, abuse, some of them physically abuse the women. And then they got, oh, I have 9 children, 10 children by maybe 9, 10 mothers.
Oh, wow.
How African conscious is that? You should be in a position to set an example for your children.
Yes.
And then they turn around when they finish breeding, because that's what they're bound to, the women. They up and marry somebody else of another race.
Mm-hmm.
And when I speak out, oh, people have choice. You can't be telling me for 40 years you're so Afro-conscious.
Mm-hmm.
And how black is beautiful and black is best, and the white people trying to take out our race, and you marry into it. Of course, you're free to marry into it, but our lifestyle must match the things we say.
Mm.
You sound like you're referencing a particular person.
No, more than one black conscious person does it. They would have a nice black wife or black woman.
Mm-hmm.
Give her children, and then you see them swinging somebody else one other way on the arm in the supermarket carrying baskets.
And then they want to claim that they are for conscious.
You know what I mean? Give me a break. So sometimes I tell you, as far as I'm concerned, your mouth, your talk must match your lifestyle.
Okay.
And I'm going to apologize for it. God
Well,
love
you're
everybody.
making
It's your opinion, and you're entitled to that.
but she's making sense.
Yes.
If you're
Yeah, but what I'm
representing
saying,
something, your
look,
lifestyle must reflect it.
Mm.
Yes. If I am saying a Christian, I must live like one.
Yes.
If you so love Africa. And another thing, too many of us are unwilling to call out black people when they do wrong. You look at Africa. All of us love Africa, but we must be willing and don't, you can't be saying that. When you do not correct anybody,
Mm.
they feel justified in what they do.
Yes.
And I am of the opinion that Africa could have been better managed, better governed.
Mm-hmm.
If even the CARICOM countries, the black-ruled countries, spoke up.
Everybody has their own political agenda there, and
I know, but then they turn around, they turn around. So I can't stand hypocrisy, eh?
But Ms. Henry,
Now let me get to Betty Lamb. Enough of that.
well,
Okay.
I'll give my commentary after. Go ahead.
I want to send my
Condolences.
condolences to the family of Mrs. Betty Lamb. Well, I knew him before she got married, working with her father in the bookstore. And she always engaged me. Very pleasant person. Come on, Mrs. Henry, how are you today? Because, I like books and bookstores and stuff. A very, very pleasant person. And so I want to send my condolences to her children, Sandra and Adrian and their grandchildren. And may her soul rest in peace. And to all the others, every time I turn around here, how some man dies suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
Some Pike, do you know him? From Sandy Point.
Pike?
No. Yes, he
And
used
Pike,
to
they say?
work at the school.
They say he's a coach.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He's a distant family of mine. You're raised up and you thought this is your family.
Dead?
Pardon?
You know your family dead?
Yeah, well, the name that you called, no, I recall
Pike,
because...
yeah. I heard Mr. Wilshire this morning.
Mhm.
And Mr. Cook I knew.
Yes, you were a classmate, schoolmate. I was a bit older.
Yes, so I send my condolences to the families and encourage men to check their health. Check their health. You say it on this radio, you say it on this
Yes.
program.
Yes.
You go to one year, you come to the next.
Well, Margaret is a clinical dietitian. And she has been on many programs which she speak about the need for men, especially at a certain age demographic, to go and check their health. But it's an ongoing, it's not a labor of love. It's an uphill climb to get
is an
people to
uphill
understand.
Macho, this
Yes.
macho thing is what killing us.
Yes.
This
Yes.
macho thing, and the truth is, there are so many male doctors, because somebody say, I ain't going to no woman. But women marching into male doctors every morning, eh?
Okay. Yes. And male gynecologists.
I'm telling you.
Yes.
That was the
it's all
standard.
part of you.
For many years, that was the standard. But I've also encountered females who decide they don't want to go and check for certain suspected ailments because they don't want to know.
No, it is not matter don't want to know. You're talking about not wanting
They're
to
telling me
go
that
through.
they don't want to know. This is the opinion. They don't want to know. The stated
Well,
position.
I will find out.
Yes.
It's easy,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you got to be a little thing and children, darling. If you don't want to know, you'll find out. But sometimes you find out too late.
Exactly.
And it's worse when you have children. It's like the
Yes.
vaccine. Oh, I ain't going to take none. And you want to know which bottle they put it in. I mean, you go to the ridiculous. Forgetting you have a gang of children home. Forgetting you have your old mother who like me.
Yes.
So you're not doing something we don't do for ourselves. You know, many things I've done for my children.
No doubt we're going to find callers who will call up with different rationale to the one that you're representing. So I understand your position, your platform.
But we got to learn to be less selfish. Now, my last thing is Dr. Douglas. He was on Freedom Friday speaking, and he made some statement. Well, I told him to his face that he was very irresponsible in some of the comments he was making. And I base it on his position as a leader in the country and a former prime minister whose words carry weight.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in that position, even you on the mic,
Yes.
when you're speaking, you must know that what you say, other people take it as gospel, Matthew,
Yes.
Mark, Luke, and John, and are willing to make decisions based on what you say.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we say everybody have their own mind, we are all influenced by somebody else. We are all influenced. It takes a strong-willed person sometimes to say, well, I hear you, but I think this way. But most of us are like that. And when you make a certain statement, he made a certain statement, and then trying to justify it by saying, somebody told him so, that there were at least 3 deaths which he suspected to be corona.
Here in St Kitts?
Yes, he said it on Freedom.
Okay.
You can call and challenge it.
Okay.
He said, oh, well, some doctor told me so. Well, common sense could
That's
tell
irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
you. Common sense could tell you there would have been community spread.
Yes.
Even one.
Yes.
You know, so when you are making these sort of irresponsible, and everything everybody tell you, you must repeat.
You would have to
And if you're
verify.
going to repeat, you are in a certain position.
Mm-hmm.
Because he could have been the leader, you know. It's just a matter of election, you understand?
Yeah.
And then again, they want to know what this corona, this is an intelligent man, a medical doctor
Mm-hmm.
who knew where to find the information that they and the party are asking for. He knows where to go and find what is in it, how it is made, who make it. He knows the official sites to go to.
Yes.
And then come on and, I am not going to take any until I this and until I know that. It is the duty of educated people to educate the rest of us.
Yes.
Don't come tell me, I don't know if it's good or if it's bad. Find out. And then to make matters worse, some of his former compatriots, by that I mean heads of government,
Mm-hmm.
who were in power when he was in power, not only took the vaccine,
Mm-hmm.
but are out there encouraging their countrymen to do the same.
Yeah.
So how do you rationalize that? So all of a sudden, all of them stupid? You had all the leaders of the Caribbean countries that got the vaccine who were intent to get it, taking it.
Yeah.
So how come you don't know what they know? And you have very good friends. He and the Dominican
Skerritt,
because he was a Dominican.
he would have taken his.
Took his. You know what I mean? And a lot of the opposition parties promised to take or have taken. So what is so backward about St Kitts? I call it backwardness, you know.
I don't think it's being backwards. I just think that
It
people
is
are just
backward.
not
If I know
informed.
you're a dietitian, right?
Yes.
You're a dietitian. Don't come on the radio and tell me that I don't know what sweet potato do for you. And I don't know, you know what I mean? Basic thing that you're supposed to know.
Yes.
You come on the radio and somebody asks you, well, miss, I just eat dumpling, rice and thing in the morning.
Okay.
And you're going to say, well, I don't really know, you know. Then I call into question your qualification.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Henry, we have to pause
All right, then.
for a word from our sponsors, but when we come back, we will take up those points of discussion.
She
So, yes, we Thank you for your contribution as we take for a moment forward from our sponsors.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Ponche Cuba, the original ponche, creamy and delicious anytime. So sensual.
Like us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/ramsupermarket. Follow us on Twitter, www.twitter.com/ramsupermarket. And subscribe to us on YouTube, www.youtube.com/ramsupermarket.
Good morning and welcome back to the studios of WINN FM. We are back into Voices. Before I go into responding to what Sister Henry said, there is a text here from Chris Collins up in Sheffield, UK. He makes me feel very bad. He's saying, that's why I listen to the show, because Margaret has a way of simply delivering the tough message and facts that we fear to pay attention to, is simply and clear. So I don't exist anymore.
He did not say that.
He said the reason why he listens to this is because you. Okay, Chris, no problem. We're going to take to the lines. It's called 11 Voices.
Oh, we lost that caller.
Lost that voice. Caller. All right. Caller 11 Voices. Good morning, caller. You're live on the program.
We lost them.
That's a 1-2. Now to Miss Henry until we get a caller. Many people would have reasons for the vaccine hesitancy. And we understand what the science is saying, but
Yes.
you can't be too impatient with people. They have to rationalize for themselves.
Yes.
So it's not that it's mandatory. You have to take it. You mentioned the fact that people who are educated should help educate the public. We get a lot of information via the media, but there has been no town hall meeting to discuss in detail. Okay, let's take this call and see where this discussion leads. Morning, caller 11 Voices.
Hi, good morning, the King.
Okay, are you speaking up? Because Sister Henry says she can hardly hear sometimes when you're speaking. So let's hear how strong you can be this morning.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I hope the listening audience can hear me. Good morning to your co-host.
Lady
Good
Margaret
morning.
Stevens. Yes.
And good morning to all and sundry, the Federation and the wider field.
Yes, you've got the mic.
I just tuned in the midst of Mrs. Henry, and I wish to say good morning to Queen Mother Henry. I have established that it's biblical to call her Queen Mother Henry, in which she will be more comforted with, because it's of a biblical origin to call her Queen Mother Henry. Yes, I tuned in the midst of Mrs. Henry's contribution. And yes, when it comes to former political or political figures, those are in the higher echelons of what a society entails. It would be incumbent on them, because they are supposed to be role models when it comes to certain protocols and the likes.
Be more responsible.
And all of that sort. in itself, yes, you would think that prominent figures would just fall in line up like ducks in a row. But given our history, the king, this is what differentiates what is going on, you know. Because last week, my contribution last week said, it's all good and fine that these things serves humanity in a positive way. It's all good and fine. And I hope by prominent figures that's taking the vaccine, they would have been influential on other persons who would have said, wow, John Brown have taken it, so let me go and take it, and the likes. Now, I'm not going to throw any monkey wrench nor any conspiracy theory in the midst. But we have seen where prominent figures would have been lined up in other parts, and it could be what I'm going to say here now is not gospel. It could be that the media is a media bliss. But one would have heard rumors, let me say, that persons lined up for the vaccine, and lo and behold, it's not the genuine vaccine that is being dispensed to the wider populace.
That information or speculation is based on what?
No, there are rumors out there. What I'm saying, things of that nature would be out there.
Yes.
Where certain prominent figures, no name calls,
that will lead to more suspicion.
Politicians or movie star would have been lined up for the vaccine, and lo and behold, it's not the genuine vaccine itself. So there are things that are in the air because we are so media savvy now, and information is out there. So yes, I agree when it comes to that high echelon of persons. But for me, I'm speaking for me, my herbs will be the best.
Okay.
And if death comes my way because I'm not taking the vaccine, so be it. It's not that I'm going to just go out in a car's way, a vehicle's way, and I want to end my life. I'm not suicidal.
So you're not advocating that others do not take it. You're saying that as far as you yourself is concerned, you will use
No, I am not. I am not advocating that no one should not go and take it.
Okay.
They must know their future.
All right. Your case is that there are reasons for folks to be suspicious. And one is to, your position is there are many reasons out there why people should be suspicious. Right? And we don't have the means of verifying. You're told to trust, but verify or just trust blindly. But it's your life you're talking about, and all the information, all the stuff that you're hearing, there is a reason for the hesitancy. We understand and appreciate that. So for those who want to be impatient with persons who take that position, I think it's unfair to them. But go right ahead.
But what I am saying, when one would come across, influential persons will come across and speak of the vaccine, and we are living in a situation where there is other things that are at play that no one is really seeing. And there is a great awakening that is taking place.
Okay, see if you can bring it home within 2 minutes. Africa, see if you can bring that home in 2 minutes, please.
All right. So I'm gonna.
You got 2 more minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. So there's a great awakening in place, and there are persons who are influenced, but their influence is with the former dispensation, the vestiges of the former dispensation, and we can see those vestiges at play, be it in terms of politics, in terms of the political tribalism, in terms of religion, in terms of the dogmatic religious persuasion, and otherwise. We are seeing those vestiges. And none of those vestiges, those baggages that we display from time to time, is going to delay, it's going to stop the train that has left
the station,
and in terms of the Great Awakening. None of that. So vaccine or not, it's not going to prohibit what is being unfolded at this moment.
Okay,
Thanks for listening.
thank
Okay.
you for your contribution. Thank you for your contribution. Okay. Yes, there was another point that...
We're going to spend a lot of time talking about vaccines, aren't we?
Yes.
Okay.
There was another point that Sister Henry raised about Africa and the lack of responsibility of leadership. And we discussed a lot of this is orchestrated from outside.
Yes.
When certain person would have spoken up, they were assassinated. So it's not as easy and as cut and dry as one would present it.
Yes.
One have to take all these various things into consideration. I know we can name some names who spoke up and was very vocal about the rape of Africa and how people it were being exploited. They were assassinated.
Yeah.
We know what the French government has done to Africa. They control all the main resources. French is a powerhouse today because of the exploitation of Africa.
Yeah.
And they assassinate the leadership. So we know that. So it's not okay, well, Africans need to do this and that and that. It's not as cut and dry
It's
as
not.
that.
It's
so
not.
that must be part of the conversation. We
Yeah.
talk about African leadership going forward. We pause for a caller. Call your 11 voices.
Hello, caller.
Okay, there seemed to be a technical issue with the line. Yesterday afternoon, I attended what was dubbed the Shellfish Festival down at Fig Tree. It was done by the Sandy Point Fishermen Corporation, if I have it right.
Okay.
Mr. Thompson, who is the director of cooperative on St Kitts and Nevis, was there, and he gave me a job.
He did?
I had my camera. So he says, I thought you was going to take some pictures. So I did. We'll get back to that. Call the 11 voices. Welcome to the program.
Yes, the king, it's me, I'm back.
Okay.
You know,
This
I
was
wanna-
first caller.
I want to talk something about what Miss Henry said about a lot of people is talking about Africa in the sense like, you know, we're just talking and not living. What is Africa? The king, 2006, I was in Paris. We all know Paris is an attractive city. I took the Eurostar from London and I went over to Paris in 2006. Now, the point I am trying to make here, who built Paris? I mean, even the Eiffel Tower, those people came from the continent to build Paris. These are things that we don't know. And Africa just is an awakening. We are now awakening to our history that was hidden from us. No. Had Africa never been under the thumb of, you know, the colonizers, Africa would have been an attractive place. We wouldn't have been even going to, probably wouldn't have been gone to the West as we would have gone to Africa. So now that this is the turn of certain unfolding, we need to concentrate on how we can build Africa. Now, we are in the diaspora, and, you know, we know if we had to go to Africa, we had to go to the West in order to go to Africa. Well, Africa is now becoming attractive. You know? So we are, our DNA is in Africa. You know, you hear people say, oh, I'm a Kittitian. Well, you know, those people still don't recognize that our DNA is on the continent of Africa, even though we are here. So, you know, and when you look at it now, who built Paris? Who built Britain? Who built the Americas? It's our ancestors.
Our contribution.
If we weren't colonized, we would have been, our continent would have been a place of attraction. And it was before they came. You know what they destroyed. But you see, our people are not, because of what we see, we don't want it. We just accept that is the norm. I mean, things are happening on the continent today, but we need to wake up because the Chinese are now colonizing Africa in a different way compared to the West. And we need to focus on that because Africa is the future. And as many, we might think that because we're down here in a small island, it doesn't benefit us. It would be a great impact on us if we neglect what is happening and allow the Chinese now to colonize Africa over again in a different way compared to the West.
We know they've put Africa under the economic gun. We want to thank you for your contribution. So we got to cut off, but the conversation continues. Let me go back for a moment to what I was saying about yesterday in Fig Tree. The Fishermen Cooperative have gotten together and put on a wonderful event called the Shellfish Festival. They had lobster, They are conks. Talking about food. Call your 11 voices. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Sacco.
Morning, how are you?
I'm calling on behalf of the program from last week, Saturday.
Last week, Saturday, inside the news?
Inside the news, yeah.
Okay.
Because certain things must be put right. And once it's not being put right, it will be always going down and down a slippery slope. For example, right? Did you ever get involved in knowing why Bracho went to Trinidad?
Get involved in knowing? I know he went there as part of the formation of the Federation. He was,
and he was
the Minister of Finance. Yes.
Because, for example, right, certain things, right, I do not like. The Labour Party will be the Labour Party, but it's not everybody who joins the Labour Party have the people in mind. So then supporters will pull away. If you understand, it goes to all the parties, political parties. When Sylvain Henry said Bracha left and he went to Trinidad, and she did not explain why he went to Trinidad. His office was based in Trinidad. He was elected as the Minister of Finance, and he was controlling Barbados, Jamaica, Guyana, and Trinidad money. The four big countries, the four big islands. No, Trinidad.
His portfolio was a Minister of Finance.
Finance, yes, and he was controlling the three big islands along with Guyana. Other countries and not the
that's
island.
a historical fact. You're saying that
exactly. I mean, she did not expound. Oh, she just got up and she decided. Oh, he got up and he went Trinidad. Lord, man, if you understand what I'm speaking of.
Maybe she was saying that he didn't probably explain to the public what he was doing, but no one can deny that that was something organized. There was an attempt for the islands, to at Federation, and it failed about 2.5 years after.
As a union.
Yes.
So we had the federal maple and the federal palm, and them kind of boats used to come down here. About 1960. I know very little of the Federation, but I have two books here, right? And the two books that I have to want St Kitts people to read. One was written by William T. Brown. Whitman T. Brown.
Whitman Brown from Nevis. Yes.
From Coming Out to King.
I have
Robert
that.
Llewellyn, Robert L. Bradshaw, Crusader for Dignity.
I have a copy of that, yes. Go ahead.
In the Caribbean. And then you have a history book here, right? With the formation of what would have been taking place with the Caribbean islands into Federation. Because this history book, read the title of it is Caribbean Stories, Book 2, The Inheritors, New Edition. William Claypole and John Robatham are the writers of this history book. If you understand, sometimes people don't get up and say certain things because all the history was documented.
So you're taking...
Did not get up and isolate the country.
So you're taking issue, according to you, is by the way Sylvain Henry presented that information?
Exactly, because she should not do that. Because Bracha did not isolate St. Kitts, and then she also went on to say...
I don't think that would be your position.
Listen to me. If you did listen Saturday and listen to the rebroadcast on Sunday, you heard it. And she went on further to speak of comparing Southwell and Bracha with the closeness to Africa. Oh, Southwell always used to be the Shiki. But Bracha, the fine, where he came from.
He was more European inclined.
Because she said it. No, certain things you must learn to understand. Do not bring over wrong. Do not, because the man done dead and gone.
I'm sure she's listening and she will have a response. I'm sure she's listening and she'll have a response. But we get your point.
She'll come in after lunch, and then she called me about Bracha Clan. I never joined a clan yet. I vote for all the political parties and think it. I vote 2000. I refused to vote against Labour because I was too close take place between 95 and the year 2000. 2000, I declined from voting.
Okay.
2004, I vote UNEP. 2010, I vote Blanchett. 2015.
You got your choice. You live in a democracy. We appreciate that.
That's my
Democratic rights, yes.
Right. So then, see, if you ain't saying that, no, because every person who join a body of people, they mind thinking right.
Okay, take a minute to wrap up, sir.
You're not going my direction, me ain't going your direction.
Okay.
Because me, it's we.
Take the next 45 seconds to wrap up.
Right?
Can you hear me?
Let me tell you something, wrap it up. Let me tell you something, right? You got two-letter word, me and we.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
I hear you.
Yeah, two-letter word, me, M-E.
Mm-hmm.
Turn the M upside down, where you get? We. You see what I'm talking about?
Got your point.
One is singular and one is plural.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand what I'm speaking of, right? This is what we have to get into. Eliminate the me and let us use the we. I done.
Okay.
Thank you for your contribution. And we're going to have to pause for this word from a sponsor because we done so just once before, doing the program. So a quick word from the sponsors and we'll be right back.
Found the sound 98.9 WINN FM.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Welcome back once again. Listen to Voices with Margaret and Socrates, and we have a caller on the line. We'll take a caller. Caller, welcome to Voices.
Greetings.
Yes, sir. How about that?
Blessed love, concerning this vaccine and leadership, right? I think everybody have the right to decide their own, make their own decision. You present the information, you could advise, but decision must be made by the individual because every man is a leader for himself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to the vaccine, it's like, it almost is like you want to take the decision making out of the hands of the people.
Should be a personal choice.
Yes. Remember, these things come with consequence, If I'm going to do something because you say that, then I'm allowing you to control my mind. Mm-hmm. And then it's me have to live with whatever consequence come out of that. You know what I mean? So I think the educated thing to do, is to allow people to decide for themselves. Because remember, God, God say a lot of things. A lot of things man must do. God who make man, A lot of things man must do and a lot of things man mustn't do. A lot of things we don't
and we don't do it.
God said to do. You know what I mean? And then we don't go out there, don't encourage people to do what God said to do, which is the most important thing. You know what I mean? But we feel away when somebody may say certain things that may cause somebody to reconsider, relook, or rethink this vaccine taking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be careful. One more thing. To the Empress there on the program, she's a health personnel, right?
Clinical dietitian.
Okay. I wonder if she have any knowledge about the pineal gland. the importance, the significance, what could damage the pineal gland. Because I'm thinking, could the vaccine have any kind of effect on the pineal gland? Knowing it's only one of them, one pineal gland in the middle of your head. You understand?
Okay.
So I'll step off and let the Empress talk forward, right?
Appreciate that, sir. Thanks for your contribution. Mic is yours. The mic is yours.
Mine? No, carry on telling me about the fish.
Oh, you want, okay, we don't get back to that question that he posed to you directly about the pineal gland, right? The pineal gland is supposed to be a gland in the head. So he says, as a health official, he may have an opinion on that, and would it have an effect on vaccine? But briefly, Brenda O'Neill up in Charlotte agrees with you, sir. She says the vaccine issues are very personal, and we don't know how it will react with many medication. Just a thought. We take this caller. Caller 11 Voices.
Good morning, Secretary.
Morning, sir.
The madam, the lady.
Yes. Empress Stevens.
Now, Secretary, I want to say something. Now, I know you don't touch a lot of people. Now, we talk good about Africa. We talk about the progress that go on in Africa. And we're proud to know that a lot of progress go on there. But, Secretary, you know something? We fail to talk about the bad that go on in Africa. We fail to talk about the police who is backing up the police or the soldiers who's backing up the bad leaders. We fail to talk about that. We fail to talk about the school children that going missing, coming out to take black people taking them out of the school and carrying them in the mountain. You know? First was 300 to come back. 200, 100 ain't come back. And it continued just up to last week. Right? 300 schoolboys gone. One get killed some time ago there. We ain't talking about that. We ain't talking about the Eritrean soldiers that going in Somalia and killing off and raping our young women and knocking them out. It's black people. We need to talk about the good and the bad.
And the ugly.
Black lives matters. Yes. You see, we only talk things when it is in our interest or when it's on the other foot. But when it's the real thing for we to talk about the black leaders in Africa and the Caribbean who is doing all kind of wrong, we stay silent. We don't know anything about it. When is the good thing to talk about, we talk about it. You know? You there?
I'm listening. Let you make a point.
You see, and we need to be stopped so one-sided and talk the truth. Africa is a beautiful place. Africa is a rich place. I believe that Africa by now should have been United States of Africa. But because of a lot of corrupt leaders who don't want it to happen because they want to be rich by the state funds and the state produce, they rather to be, well, me country. But we don't talk about these things. We don't talk about the corruption that's gone in Africa. It's a beautiful place. It's a nice place. It's my forefather's place. But we need to let the world know about the wrong that gone there. Not about the good, because a lot of wrong gone there. As far as I see, more wrong gone there than what good. And we need to highlight it to change Africa, to bring it to be a good place.
Okay, we want to thank you for your contribution. We're coming up on news time, so we want to have a little wrap up before we go to the midday news hour. Any response to that, Margaret?
I mean, it is disturbing because I was reading an article on BBC World News, and they were saying that the kidnappings are money orientated, that they're kidnapping them and then the government are giving them land, houses and whatever to return the children.
Okay, so it's extortion.
Yeah, but they're returning the boys, but they're not returning all of the girls. And a lot of these girls are subjected to rape and to bear children and for men that are just there to abuse them. Mm-hmm. So they return some of the girls, and I think a lot of these ones that aren't returned are being killed in the end. So that there is that side of it. And that, you know, now that the abductions are becoming more publicity around them, the more we're seeing.
Okay.
So they did have an initiative, hashtag Bring Back Our Girls, but even that has stopped now because they're just saying that Nigeria is exhausted by the number of kidnappings that are taking place.
So Ricardo made a very valid point. We need to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly. And on that note, we're going to pause for the midday newscast. And when we come back, we're going to ask our engineer to hold the lines so we can speak about the topic of the fishing, the Shellfish Festival, etc., etc. So thanks for many callers and contributors this morning to the program. We welcome your point of view. It's called Voices, so don't be shy and don't figure that we're not taking your comments seriously. As we now pause for the midday newscast.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WINN FM.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
When they start them there, we a top man, we take charge. Have no drink and we a shell down ours. Blast like a star in some Galapagos. Over no we take it too far. Take charge, take charge.
We a hot gal, we set the trend. Magnum we drink for the top man them. Wine with the style, no stop from spin. Hot blend, back bend, and take charge, take charge.
Magnum tonic wine for the real star them. Take charge, take charge.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 WINN FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs. And make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
With the WIN headline news, I am Kevon Brown. Making the headlines, SKN receives 20,000 doses, compliments the government of India. 175,000 vaccines donated to OECS member states from India. The Democratic Labour Party of Barbados expresses concern about the government's proposed national vaccine fund. Internationally, France's former president Nicolas Sarkozy found guilty of corruption and influence peddling, sentencing him to 1 year in prison and 2 years suspended sentence. Now, the details. Just after 10 a.m. this morning, March 1st, St Kitts and Nevis received 20,000 vaccines as a donation from the government of India.
The generous donation of these 20,000 doses of vaccines provides real hope for our people that working together we can defeat COVID-19. We are now so much closer to getting back to our way of life without fear. Through His Excellency Sripinasa, the High Commissioner of the Government and People of India, accredited to the Federation of St Kitts and Nevis, I would like to thank the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, for the compassion he's showing other nations during this period of the global COVID-19 pandemic. His generous heart and enduring sense of caring and solidarity are important values which our government share. COVID-19 has taught us many lessons, but perhaps the most important lesson is how interconnected and interdependent we are as a global community.
Prime Minister Timothy Harris at the RLB International Airport. The 20,000 is a portion of the 175,000 vaccines earmarked for the OECS member states and Suriname through multilateral negotiations. These 20,000 would be enough to inoculate 10,000 people, or 20% of the population in the Federation. Coupled with the COVAX procurement expected in the coming weeks, 40% of the population could receive the jab, which would bring the Federation closer to population immunity. However, how likely is that population immunity when the jab is voluntary? Around 8 a.m. on Monday, March 1st, 175,000 vaccines touched down on VC Bird International Airport in Antigua and Barbuda in a chartered flight from Mumbai. These 175,000 doses were gifted from the Government of India, developed in the Serum Institute of India. 40,000 is expected to remain on the island and marks the start of their vaccine rollout to the general public at 10 a.m. March 1st, according to the Minister of Health, Malwin Joseph, during the press conference held at the arrival of the vaccines.
We are saving the lives of Antiguans and Barbudans. I will take the opportunity to say to all the citizens and residents of Antigua and Barbuda at this moment. Avail yourselves of the opportunity to be vaccinated. March the 1st will forever be etched as one of the most important days in the history of Antigua and Barbuda.
Joseph stated as he drew reference to past U.S. President John F. Kennedy starting the Peace Corps on March 1st, 60 years ago, and considers this not only a humanitarian mission but a peace mission. Antigua and Barbuda, as a result of their long-standing relationship with India, received US $1 million in medical-grade PPEs and equipment for their disease and isolation center in August 2020. 5,000 of the vaccines received today, March 1st, will be donated to Grenada, leaving 35,000, which could inoculate 17,250 of Antigua and Barbuda's near 100,000 populace, expected to be done in the next 30 days. Currently, more than 2,000 people have been vaccinated so far in the country of Antigua and Barbuda. On Friday, February 11th, the Commonwealth of Dominica donated 5,000 vaccines to Antigua and Barbuda, which allows for the inoculation of 25,000 people. Prime Minister Gaston Brown offered his gratitude to Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, and the Government of India, calling the act a demonstration
of perhaps the most significant act of benevolence, of kindness, and certainly of empathy that would have seen within recent times compared to any act of any other leader globally.
Citing India's own circumstances of over 11 million people who contracted the coronavirus and has to inoculate their population of 1.367 billion people. Brown also mentioned that through private donations, $1 million has been earmarked to procure more vaccines in the future.
Well, we have not launched a formal program of solicitations, but we have had a number of citizens who have generously contributed funds towards acquiring vaccines. So, for example, the Hadid group of companies, they have donated $270,000. We have had another $270,000 from a group which was coordinated by Fausto Fadarelli and several other individuals who contributed. In fact, I will now formally disclose too that I would have made a contribution of 100,000 EC dollars on behalf of my family. So far we have collected in excess of $1 million that will go towards vaccine purchases.
High Commissioner to India, Dr. KJ Srinivasa, stated how the remaining 135,000 doses were distributed. 20,000 to St Kitts and Nevis, 25,000 to St Lucia, 40,000 to St Vincent and the Grenadines, and 50,000 to Suriname.
I would like to highlight here that the gifting of the vaccines to Antigua and Barbuda shows Prime Minister Modi's commitment to use India's vaccine production and delivery capacities for helping all of humanity in fighting this crisis. I emphasize the fact that Antigua and Barbuda has received this vaccine in the very first few weeks that India has started to donate such assistance to its friendly countries across the world. It has also bolstered India's credentials as the immediate responder in terms of emergency situations. This arrival also marks a milestone in our bilateral relations with Antigua and Barbuda. I hope that these vaccines will save the lives of our Antigua and Barbudan brothers and sisters and bring the country's economy back to normal pretty soon. I quote Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who says that India is always guided by its ancient philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, meaning world is one family,
said Dr. Srinivasa. In the coming weeks, 20,000 vaccines are expected from the COVAX facility, and Antigua and Barbuda are currently in commercial negotiations with India for an additional 100,000 vaccines. The aim of Antigua and Barbuda is to inoculate at least 70 to 80% of the population and achieve population immunity.
Now, I want to make a personal appeal to all of the citizens and residents of Antigua and Barbuda to get vaccinated. The only way to bring this virus under control and to reduce hospitalizations and deaths is to get vaccinated. We must all take the responsibility to get vaccinated in order to achieve herd immunity. In order to achieve herd immunity, at least 70% of the country's population must be vaccinated. So this is not just a personal decision to get vaccinated. And I want to appeal to everyone that when you ponder over the decision whether or not to get vaccinated, you ought to understand that this is not just a personal choice, because the impact of not getting vaccinated could undermine our achievement of getting herd immunity, which is a requirement to return to normalcy. So consider the consequences if you do not get vaccinated. Consider the consequences for yourself, the possibility of being hospitalized, the possibility of dying. Consider the national consequences of having additional curtailment of hours to socialize. Consider the possibility of national lockdowns. Consider the job losses. Consider the fact that the socializations of which we've been accustomed, that they will be curtailed. I appeal to the people of Antigua and Barbuda to get vaccinated, to save lives and livelihoods. It is absolutely important that you do so, not only in your personal interests, but in the interests of your loved ones and in the interests of our country. The last thing our government would want to do is to increase or to implement policies that will further curtail your civil liberties, or in essence, to force anyone to get vaccinated. That is why we are asking individuals to be personally responsible in their decision and to take into consideration the consequences for the individual himself or herself, and also the consequences for loved ones, for friends, and certainly for the entire country.
The Democratic Labour Party of Barbados expresses concern about the government's proposed national vaccine fund. Barbados Today has this report.
President of the Democratic Labour Party, Villa de Pisa, has expressed concerns about the government's proposed national vaccine fund. During a national address last week, Prime Minister Mia Mottley announced the pending launch of the fund, to which Barbadians will be asked to donate to help cover the cost of vaccines. However, speaking on the DLP's virtual program last night on the topic, The Two Sides of COVID in Barbados, De Pisa argued that now was not the time to introduce anything new, as quite a significant number of Barbadians were in dire financial straits due to the COVID-19 pandemic. She suggested other ways the vaccine purchase could be funded.
We came up with 6. There could be more, but we came up with 6. First of all, going on the central bank report, the foreign reserves leave space for us in terms, even though that is borrowed funds, we still have a gap of about $80 million to still meet that 1% surplus that the government is seeking to achieve under the revised IMF program. So there is a source of funds that can be used. We have also the BEST program, which is significantly undersubscribed to the extent that $300 million that was set aside for tourism-related businesses to capitalize themselves and improve during the COVID struggles remains unused. Some of those funds, not all, but some of those funds could be repurposed to pay for the vaccines. We also have, in terms of the reserves, we were told that we had 35 weeks of coverage for our reserves. That is way ahead of the international standard for reserves. So again, we have some space. Those are 3 so far.
De Pisa also made reference to the garbage and sewage levy.
Truthfully, nobody knows yet how much money the garbage and sewage levy has brought in, because those are funds that should be reported by Barbados Water Authority as the collection agency, but we haven't seen any financial statements for any of the relevant periods. But if we had an accounting of that levy, maybe, just maybe, we will find that there are some funds in that levy that could also be put towards the vaccine. It would call for some legislative change, but let's face it, they have the majority in Parliament that they can make that legislative change and effect the transfer of funds which are not in the consolidated fund, but are funds that belong to the people of Barbados and can be put to use for the people of Barbados. And then, of course, we heard last year about the COVID-19 Relief and Recovery Barbados, Inc., a company that was set up to source funding from out of the diaspora. We have never had a reporting in relation to that company either. So we need to know what funds are in there, whether any is available for vaccines. And then, of course, the bloated cabinet and all of the consultants.
Barbados continues its national vaccination program today with a plea for residents to honor the appointment system so senior citizens, the most vulnerable, and frontline workers can get their doses first. It's coming from co-coordinator of the National Vaccination Committee, Major David Clark. As of Saturday, health officials had vaccinated 36,749 people with the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. That's a breakdown of 15,678 men and 21,071 women. However, the national vaccination effort and systems have been overwhelmed by what has been described as the enthusiasm of Barbadians, many of whom without appointments or being on the urgent list, turning up at centers across the island, resulting in crowds and long lines. Major Clark said that this should not have occurred and urged the public not to turn up at vaccination sites without an appointment, as the numbers of people at those centers crowded together and not observing physical distancing rules is itself a health risk.
Self-described pro-democracy protesters took to the streets of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, with one demand: for the president to step down immediately. The demonstrators, numbering in the thousands on Sunday, say Jovenel Moïse's 5-year term ended on February 7th, but that the president has refused to leave office and is instead consolidating power.
Today we are showing the world that the Haitian people reject the power of the PHTK, headed by Jovenel Moïse, who wants to establish a dictatorship in the country. The Haitian people fought against the Duvalier regime in 1986. We will not go back to this era.
Moïse has ruled by presidential decree for the past 13 months, after dissolving the majority of parliament amid political gridlock. He claims his term doesn't end until February 2022, and he'll step down only then. He took power in 2017 in an election marred by allegations of fraud. The protests Sunday were organized by religious groups, but others joined in, including the political opposition. The frustration on the streets goes beyond the president. Demonstrators are also mad at what's known as the core group: the United Nations, European Union, United States, Canada, and France, that for many years have held great influence over Haitian affairs. They say the group is propping up Moïse at the expense of the Haitian people.
For a long time, the economic elite has been hijacking the country with the complicity of Jovenel Moïse and the core group, who have joined forces to impoverish the country.
In January, the U.S. announced an infusion of $75 million in development aid for the country, and just last week called for legislative and presidential elections this year, but so far shied away from calling for Moïse to step down. What remains is anger on the streets, a defiant president, and a country now in a constitutional crisis. Gabriel Zondo, Al Jazeera.
We now bring you these international reports.
A court in France has found former President Nicolas Sarkozy guilty of corruption and influence peddling. The judges handed Sarkozy a 3-year prison sentence, 2 of which are suspended. The 66-year-old is the second leader in France's modern history to be convicted of corruption. Natasha Butler is live for us at the court in Paris. Natasha, run us through what exactly he's been found guilty of, and does this mean that we're going to see a former president now heading to prison?
Yes, Nicolas Sarkozy becoming the first former French president to be handed a jail sentence. He was found guilty by the court here in Paris of corruption and influence peddling, and he's been handed a 3-year jail sentence. So we understand 2 years suspended. The 3rd year he may be able to carry out under house arrest. Now, lawyers for Nicolas Sarkozy say that he does intend to appeal. Now, this case focused on an incident in 2014 in which Sarkozy was charged with trying to influence a magistrate, trying to offer this magistrate a top job in return for information into another investigation which was being carried out at the time by police on Nicolas Sarkozy over campaign funds. Now, Nicolas Sarkozy during the trial always protested his innocence. He said that he'd been the victim of a political smear campaign, but it seems that the judge here in Paris disagreed, handing out this jail sentence, a devastating blow indeed to Nicolas Sarkozy.
So what then might this mean, Natasha, for Sarkozy's political ambitions?
Well, Sarkozy served as president of France, a conservative president from 2007 to 2012. But since he left office, since he left the Elysee, he has really been, you might say, trying to stage a political comeback. In 2017, he even ran once again for the presidency. And over the years, he's certainly tried to position himself as a hope for the Conservative Party, perhaps for another presidential election campaign. But you'd have to say that this guilty verdict certainly will deal a blow to those ambitions. It would be hard to imagine that a former president with now a jail sentence to contend with could possibly take the centre stage once again politically. So very disappointing for Sarkozy, his reputation in tatters, you might say. But as I said, the former French leader making it very clear that he will appeal.
OK, thank you for that, Natasha Butler, live for us at the court in Paris.
They've waited 2 years for this moment, the first steps of freedom in the United States. It was just this morning these families woke up in a squalid camp across the border in Matamoros, Mexico. Under former President Donald Trump, they'd been forced to wait there for a chance to apply for asylum in the U.S.
Our problems on the other side are finally over. After so much suffering and waiting, thank God we've triumphed.
It's so amazing to see how all of them can cross, you know? And so it's such a rejoicing moment for them.
A contrast to the border wall, the legacy of Trump's crackdown on immigration. Biden's dramatic pivot away from those policies include a proposal that would eventually offer citizenship to the 11 million undocumented immigrants currently living in the United States. That plan, if it becomes law, would not help the migrants who are arriving now. But they're coming regardless. The U.S. Border Patrol reports a surge in migrants since Biden won office, many of them children traveling without parents. That's led to the reopening of temporary shelters for migrant children, the same shelters that drew protests when they were opened by Trump.
What I've seen so far, the Biden administration is very focused on family unity and protection of human life. So I think that if that is a process in the steps to the end goal, I just hope that it doesn't take too long for those children to be in that place.
Jocelyn Zamora and her 2-year-old daughter had waited out Trump's presidency in Nicaragua, where they'd been threatened by gangs. Now, they've just crossed into the U.S. with little drama.
Before, we were scared we'd be returned to our country, where we could have been harmed. Now it's much better. We can be with our families in a much safer place.
Humanitarian groups are helping migrants get COVID tests and bus tickets to head toward the American interior. There, with relatives or friends who've long awaited their arrival, they'll eventually have a chance to see an immigration judge who will then decide if they can stay. Heidi Jo Castro, Al Jazeera, Brownsville, Texas.
Defying the latest COVID restrictions, hundreds protested in front of the governor's mansion in Brasilia on Sunday with one clear message.
And
the lockdown, Governor. We want to work. Listen to the voice of the people. We want to work. We want to work.
They're angry at the latest lockdown imposed on the city to stem a rising wave of infections that left hospitals on the verge of collapse. The current restrictions mean only essential services will be allowed for the next 2 weeks. The same is happening in dozens of other cities and states across the country. But despite the risks, protesters in Brasilia are not the only ones concerned about the economic impact. On Friday, President Jair Bolsonaro threatened to cut off federal pandemic aid to states that are imposing lockdowns and curfews to quell the surge.
Emergency aid will come for a few more months, and from now on, governors who close down their states and governors who destroy jobs will have to provide for their own emergency aid.
But the Brazilian Red Cross is urging the government to take the crisis seriously.
Health is much more important than the economic situation. The country has a sick economy. People working and infecting others will not help us, so we call on the government to take precautions.
A vaccination campaign is underway, but delays in deliveries have at times slowed down the rollout to a trickle. On Saturday, 2 new batches of ingredients to produce the Chinese Sinovac vaccine in Brazil landed in Rio, renewing hope to jumpstart the campaign. But with 250,000 Brazilians' lives lost from COVID so far, and more than 1,000 still dying every day, the road ahead remains fraught with sorrow and pain. Alessandro Ampietti, Al Jazeera.
You were listening to the WINN FM headline news on 98.9. Our top stories were: SKN receives 20,000 doses, compliments the government of India. 175,000 vaccines donated to OECS member states from India. The Democratic Labour Party of Barbados expresses concern about the government's proposed national vaccine fund. Internationally, France's former president Nicolas Sarkozy found guilty of corruption and influence peddling, sentencing him to 1 year in prison and 2 years suspended sentence. Thank you for listening.
That was the WINN FM headline news. The headline news was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Caribbean.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs. And make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM.
Good afternoon. Once again, saying welcome back to the program, to our many visitors. What am I saying? Listeners and viewers on the various platforms, welcome to Voices. We want to thank those who joined us this morning, and for those who probably had a nice lunch. And we're going to go to lunch after, right?
Yes.
But yes. Oh, I was saying hello and to all my friends. You haven't said hello. Good morning or good day to Ella as yet.
Hello, my beautiful sister. Hi, Ella.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing good. I spoke to her over the weekend.
Yeah, I made a note for that, for you to, after you said hello to my folks, you would mention Ella. So my apologies for not reminding her. Let me take pause to send out condolences to Jason Brazil family. We've just learned of the passing of his dad late last evening. Everybody knew him as Pigs. And he would have transitioned, in the words of Jason, to the next chapter. Very, very popular personality back in the day in St Kitts and Nevis. I think he lived on Nevis for the latter part of his life, and he would have passed last evening. So from the studios of WINN FM, we extend our condolences to Jason and family. Okay, we try to get into the topic of the Shellfish Festival, yes. And I will show you some pictures in the interim. Lovely pictures. Shellfish. You ask me, what's that? If that's a triangular thing, yes, it's triangular fish. And the lobsters and the kongs, and this is compliment of the Fishermen Cooperative, and Mr. Thompson, who was there, director of cooperative, was there, along with the PS, Sharon Ratton, and the minister of cooperative, I think it was Minister Eveling. They also made a presentation, and the president of the association, Mr. Major Wilkins, who happened to be my neighbor, who told me on Friday, we're having a Shellfish Festival along Fig Tree on Sunday, you're coming? That's how I happened to be there. It was a wonderful thing. And I spoke to the spirit of cooperatives, the fishermen getting together and putting on a wonderful display. You would have seen the pictures of the lobster. And at one point they told me I forgot the figures, over 400-something shellfish. They were all gone.
Oh, wow.
And, of course, there was a live band, live entertainment. The minister, of course, the representative, he showed up, had his fill, and then would have left. So this went until late. I left there about 7:30-ish.
Okay.
And people were still showing up. So kudos and congratulations to all those involved. I'm going to send the pictures that I took yesterday to Mr. Thompson later on, and of course, them help to further bring awareness to what happens when people come together.
Yes.
He says he's trying to work a collaboration between the St Kitts Taxi Cooperative and the fishermen.
Okay.
And I know that's an ongoing conversation. We have to get innovative and try to assist each other, especially in the time of COVID. And so we have this. Had to get that out of the way.
Yes.
So.
Because we've been trying.
Second thing I want to talk about. I went to a play that was done by. Go ahead. Sorry.
I didn't say anything.
Oh. Any comment on the shellfish thing?
No. I did say it was a wonderful idea.
Okay. You did say you love lobster.
I do.
What about conchs?
I do like conchs too.
And we have a caller now. So, caller 11 voices.
Good afternoon. Oh, God.
Okay. Yes, after the caller, if you get back in, we'll speak about Keisha Adams, Keisha Isaac Adams, and the wonderful play she put on. And we entertain this call, 11 voices. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, King. I'm back.
Yes, you're back, Africa.
Yes, I too wish to send our condolences to Pigs Ferdinand.
Pigs Ferdinand's family, yes.
Yes, as a kid growing up and going to the park, yeah, he was so prominent. I think he was probably the center back.
For the folks who don't know him, for the folks who don't know much about him, tell us about him quickly, if you can, please.
Well, as a Newtowner, growing up in Newtown and having to go to the main, what I call the fallopian tube of commerce, George Street.
The fallopian tube of commerce.
Was a proprietor.
Go ahead.
Yeah, his father was a proprietor. He owned a business just in front of the Sheldon Tota, the Tota family business.
Okay.
Right there. It's an abandoned building now. But that is where I knew Pigs. And yes, but he was prominent for his defense in terms of defending the Santos.
Football. He was a footballer, played for the Santos team.
Yes. Santos was one of those, if I could describe it, former players from the grammar school and the like, most of them. I could remember the guy Mikey Martin, Dr. Patrick Martin, a relative, right there on George Street also, just adjacent to the convent school. That's where he grew up. And you know, I mean, the prominence of the Newtowners, the Newtown team, after his transition from what was called zip tied into the Newtown team. But before that, there was like a team like Manchester, which most of the players hail from the Manchester Avenue and the Newtown area, along with other players. But there were teams that, would rival like Rovers and Rivals and the Tudors and the Dasons and those guys.
From up the village?
Yeah.
The Tudors, so there was a rivalry between the village and Newtown?
As a kid, that's where I grew up singing. But actually, there was a figure in Newtown. He was called Santos, an elder gentleman from down in the Newtown, what we will call down in the Newtown area down there, in the gardens, where the Phillips, Lumong, and those guys, Clecton Phillips, those his brothers, they all played football too. And so I, as a guy going to the park and enjoying those rivalries, till Newtown came and held the prominence. It always used to be the rivalry with Newtown, K-On, and Superstars. In which Superstars, gentlemen like Superstars, Euclid would have sponsored Superstars, and you will see like Tommy Molyneux would have sponsored Newtown.
Remember those guys here?
In various ways, and also Earl Clark would have, because they are Newtowners. So the rivalry was that. And the rivalry continues today. Somehow it would take a little twist, but back then the rivalry was good camaraderie. It wasn't nothing of, what we would have heard, one or two little skirmishes today. That if your team would have lost, you would take it out get offended and, take it out on probably a person from another team.
Okay,
It
and
was
in
good
that
rivalry.
environment, pigs gain prominence.
Yes.
Okay.
I think he used to play the centre back for the Santos. You would not pass him.
Okay.
You know?
He's a good defender, but he was small in stature.
Pardon me? Yeah.
He was
short
small in stature.
guy, just like Jason, his son.
Yeah.
You know? Right. Now, what I wanted to call in and say, though, I digress. We not lending our voices to certain things that would have occurred on the continent. Now, you talk about the balance. But this is where we come in at the balance. Myself and a few others cannot compete with the Al Jazeera, the BBC, the CNN, you name it, that has bombarded our people and has affected our psyche. Now, the continent is a vast continent, and we would have heard the negativity of the continent for centuries, generations, and generations. Till today, we are hesitant. We are hesitant not to unravel, not to take off the layer. And I always like to use this metaphor, Our history and our story and what is ours. They are like layers of onions. And those who cook know that as you remove the layers of onion, it really gives you teary eyes. So we cry. There's few voices here. This is where the balance comes in. Because the few voices cannot compete with the Al Jazeera's and the BBC and the CNN that bombard our people continuously. You just went to the news break. And we would have heard certain things around the world. But is it on a balance? I doubt it. Would we know that a lot of the resources, a lot of the minerals emanating from the BBC, if the BBC would have been balanced, would have ended up on the London Stock Exchange and the New York Stock Exchange? Would we know that all of those minerals that's supposed to be benefiting the continent in a positive way would be ending up on those stock exchanges of the world? No. So this is where the balance comes in. And the king, this is what I'm talking about, the vestiges. Yes, it's all good. It's not that I'm not going to have a conversation of certain negativity, but should I be burdened down with the negativity on top of CNN
Alone.
and Al Jazeera and all of them who have a much wider span and a wider reach in terms of the propaganda, and some propaganda is some truth and so I agree. Okay? No. So we have to really bring this balance to our people. We must bring this balance to our people to let them know, yes, these things pervade, but also there's other things that pervade and supposed to be told of, in which CNN and Al Jazeera, they're not going to tell you.
I tend to be in agreement with you.
Going to tell you when they're enjoying this London Stock Exchange benefit.
But the call is of the view that we only speak about the positive of Africa. We don't speak about what's happening there in totality. So, as I say,
I understand all of that, the king. But what I'm saying, we're hearing it every day, 3-4 times a day. You've only been heard once every Monday. And so with this case opportunity, we get an opportunity to talk. We must talk because
I hear you.
All of the CNN, BBC, all of it, you hear it every day on the television.
So this is a platform for yourself and like Rascalangi and those to get. And the first caller today, I don't know his name. I would like for him to be able to address him properly by his name, because he makes some very good points. And I understand that it's not that we want to take the station just to deal with that, but you get a chance to share certain information and appreciate the platform that WINN FM offers. Right? Appreciate that. Okay,
yes,
Africa.
And so that is what, I am not Kalanji, myself and Kalanji, we know each other.
Mm-hmm.
What we speak from us, from what is in us. We does not sit down and say, well, this is what we're going to say today or the other guy.
I understand that.
A lot of persons who talk.
Because I did ask him.
Because our people need to know these things.
I did ask him.
Up against the forces that is so enormous, and
I did ask Kalonji, beyond the station, where else would, he go to further his discourse? And so I understand there's a need and you take advantage of when you can. You see, you're competing against the mega news outlets around the globe.
Held the mantle and have been doing a tremendous job along with the Nairobi being a taxi order.
Okay.
And other brothers, but we have to speak the balance.
Okay, well, maybe in 60 seconds, sir.
Not knowing. The continent is a vast area. Now, it's not to say where I'm interested in, skirmishes may not happen there, and these type of things may not happen there. So I cannot say in isolation, it is happening in Ethiopia or Somalia, so that doesn't concern me, because they're on the east and I'm on the west. No.
Appreciate that.
It's not about a selfish thing. We want to see the silence of the gun. That is a part of the agenda of the AU, silencing the gun and all of this thing, but it's a work in progress and everything. But that's not to lose focus on where your birthright is and where your inheritance is, because people are inheriting what is yours. How we're going to get this thing right? We are not
maybe in 60 seconds, Africa.
We are not perpetual servitude. We have to break these bonds and get who we are as a people.
Okay, got you.
Generations to come to inherit. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. Any comment on that?
It's a minefield of information, and I think that Africa is so steeped in history, and like he said, a lot of it has been portrayed as being negative. The impact for younger people actually comes from like social media, where they're actually seeing the other side of Africa, the side that isn't portrayed in the news. So that that's one of the positive things to come out of the different platforms of social media, and we don't discuss it enough. And I think because there's just so much going on, it's really hard to know where to start.
It's information overload.
Yes.
And in today's world of instant in your face, it's ever changing. All the interest just keeps shifting from one to the next. So that's okay. I'll get back to that later on, which we never seem to do.
And I think people have a more focused approach to it as well. If they've found out that they have some ancestry in a particular region, they tend to be like concentrating on that particular region and focusing their attentions on finding out more about that.
Okay. This from Chris up in let me mispronounce it because you're dissing me. First off, we start out, what make you grudge us so, man? Right? It's good to be from St Kitts, but even better to be from Newtown. He want me to start on Sandy Point, but that's a different story. He goes on to say, Pigs was a legend, deadly defender. He was Nobby's father, of course. We know that. Who was also a Kaisa judge. Yeah, Nobby is a Calypso judge. Friend of mine, we speak all the time. And we entertain this caller. We got about 11 minutes before, that's about 8 minutes before the 1 o'clock hour. Call 11 voices.
The King.
Sir.
When
I know the voice. I'll let me able to address you. Not like the first caller, but if I can, if you can be one-on-one, just let me know who you are. Okay?
All right. Now, when I mentioned that when I went to Paris in 2006, when I mentioned, I was in London, and I took the Eurostar. Now, I'm saying that because if Africa would have been attractive the way Paris, London, and the whole of the West is, I probably wouldn't have gone there. But being there, and I visit the museum in London and the Louvre, and I see most of the artifacts that are there.
Correct.
They're African. Most artifacts in those museums are from the continent of Africa. I said that to say, if we can see Africa in the light that we know our ancestors built the West, we probably wouldn't have been going to the West.
Yeah.
That's the point I was trying to bring over. Now, Miss Henry, and with all the respect to her, she says that we speak of Africa and we are not living Africa. Well, we are aware of the corruption that is going on in Africa with the leaders, not all the leaders, because I'm very much impressed with Magufuli in Tanzania, although I don't understand his language. But, You know, I mean, we have some leaders on the continent that are doing really good. And the thing is that the young people are awakened. So saying what Africa is today, what it should have been, we in the diaspora probably would have been going over to the West. And then Africa would have been, you know, attractive for us to go there. We now know that we have a direct line flight from Jamaica to I think is in Nigeria, Lagos.
Yeah.
So we don't have to go to the West anymore to go to the continent. So we now have to focus on going there and seeing what is there and building, you know, build back our inheritance, because everything that they exploit, you know, you look at poverty. Poverty is a business right now designed by the West.
Yes.
You know, and these are things that are being enlightened to us today because we didn't look at it that way then, because we wasn't focusing on it. You know? So the enlightenment has begun and we need to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point I'm bringing. You know, Mr. King, when I see you,
I would certainly appreciate that.
Talk to you in person.
I would certainly appreciate that, sir. And thank you once again for your contribution. That is a valid point. Now we got about 6 minutes before 1 o'clock. I really want to talk about the work of Keisha Adams.
Okay.
I went to her play. There were 4 parts of it. And I'm thinking, this is dark. This is dark. And I got it. We don't speak about the dark side of our society. It was dealing with youth or domestic situation. There was one where there was a suicide.
Okay.
A young man, and he was debating with his conscience, so to speak. There were 2 persons. One was the victim, and the other was his conscience. He wrote a letter about him kill himself, and his conscience challenged him, like, why you want to kill yourself? He spoke about what was not discussed when he was growing up. His father abusing him.
Okay.
And went to his mother, didn't have the support, and he thought the only way out was to kill himself. And eventually he did. I'm thinking this is dark. There was another episode where domestic abuse, the wife ended up being killed by the husband. Another one where they broke away because of domestic issues. I'm thinking this is dark, but she was making a point. So many people are suffering in the society. We see them daily, but we don't know what they're going through. And when we hear things happen, like I'm still of the belief that we should have had a conversation after the death of Masood Siddiqui.
Yes.
He was the image of Mr. Positive.
Yes.
Mr. Positivity. 1, 2, 3, come to blessing. And the nation was in shock, but we've never had a conversation.
Yeah,
it
about
should not
health.
be the norm.
Yeah.
And you're hearing this there should have been a national debate, and there needs to be addressed. So Keisha is trying to bring to the fore the darker side of society that we tend to brush on the rug and not discuss.
Yeah.
She would have been my guest today.
Okay.
And unfortunately, because of her job, she had to go and attend to her duties. But it's something that we do not discuss. And it happens, and it's a 9 days wonder, and then we forget about it until the other episode. But these, in today's enlightened society, the psychologists, the sociologists, and so on, I understand that you have your obligations, but you're still dealing with humanity. We have, there's a program where now they're looking at young juvenile offenders, give them a second chance, and rather than the penal environment.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is all very good because it speaks to a much emerging society or more enlightened society. And so you, in your experience as a person having dealt, you were at one point and you're still affiliated with the children's home.
Yeah.
And you know the love and care that has to go into those children to help mold them. Some of them come there, let me use the word damage. And the mom don't love and compassion and attention and patience need to reach those children to. I recall some years ago, there was a young lady who used to come around with me, and I would say to her, hey, you don't come around with your head hanging down, always sad, etc., etc. And the time came when she grew into herself.
Yes.
She had a reason to be that way. She grew into herself, and now she's the most blossoming, and because somebody took time to say, hey, you're important, let me speak to you, talk to me when you have issues. and that has transformed her life to the point I'm so very happy with her ongoing accomplishments.
Yeah, I think players like Keisha's need to be, more widely publicized because it does address issues that people tend to turn their backs on, and not because there's no interest there, because some of those issues may have affected them personally, and there is a tendency to want to divert the public eye from the things that aren't seen as upright.
Sometimes, sadly, it's being viewed or interpreted as the family shame that you don't want to take to the public. Airing your dirty laundry is not your dirty laundry; it's a child's life.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that I think we're seeing some of the consequences of that in today's society. The sexual exploitation of young children, and it seems to be getting younger and younger. Women that we're actually saying that there is a need now for a place for women to go because of domestic violence.
A shelter?
Yes. So I think that when you turn your back on something or you try and push it under the carpet, it just becomes bigger and darker.
A shelter sometimes speak of stigma. People don't want to go to a physical space where they're... So I think I'm more like a social focal group we can talk.
I mean, yes, those have to happen as well. But I think there has to be a place where women feel safe, where they know that they can sleep at night without having to worry and get a good night's rest. There has to be a place where they can just breathe, and take a moment to refocus themselves.
I know of people who would have had to go to those, I don't want to say institutions, but those places of refuge. I know that. But I know of people who didn't want to be associated with that because of the sort of stigma, you're a battered woman, etc.
And that's why I think St Kitts is so small for, to have that kind of facility, because people do stigmatize everything, sexual abuse of children is stigmatized, so people don't talk about it. Domestic violence is stigmatized, so we don't talk about it. A man killing his wife, is stigmatized, so we don't talk about it.
But the children, if they're children, they too become victims because they have to go with that.
And you see it, and it becomes part of the norm for them. They say, for girls, oh, well, I'm getting beaten by my partner, but my mum used to get beaten by my dad.
Yes.
That kind of mentality, and it's sort of ingrained in them now that it is part of, it's an expectation.
We tend to push back when we speak. When I say we talk about our black people, about certain habits and practices when we blame it on slavery. Oh, slavery gone a long time ago. But many of the practices, take the man, the male, the womanizer, that is traced back to something that was instilled in him.
Yeah, farming.
Yes, we have not had any holistic conversation about slavery after emancipation. It's been snippets here and there. Why do you do such a thing? Why do you need 10 women? Oh, well, on the plantation, I was given as many because I had to help Sir. It cost less than importing bodies from Africa. And so this was passed on to him. He didn't have the education. His son grew up seeing him doing that. And then his son, it became a practice.
Yes.
And it's traced back to that. Women were never respected. They were walking, talking baby machines to be beaten because we were told that is how you treat women.
Yeah.
And so that to a very large extent still happens today. We are told, well, slavery ended 1834, but we've not had the
conversations,
and
we've not had
slavery.
the
Your
healing.
body is free. We never had the healing.
We've not had the healing.
So these are societal ills that we have to address.
Yes, I totally agree with you.
I used to emulate a certain person. I used to look up this person. how he walked, how he talked. He was very popular. And he was also a wife beater.
Okay.
We'll take the call. I found myself emulating him, and then I realized he couldn't read or write.
Okay.
I knew better, so I used to better. Caller, you're live on Voices.
Socrates, good afternoon.
Lovely to hear your voice every single time. Good afternoon to sir.
Good afternoon, co-host.
Good afternoon.
Socrates, just like last week, I come in for the news, and we don't even hear the top of the news. I'm going to hear your first session.
Okay.
Anyway, we hear you after lunch, and two callers, only two callers calling so far.
Okay.
Make a shot today. Socrates, let me touch the shellfish and the lobster festival.
Shellfish Festival, yes.
Yeah. I wish, personally for me, I wish I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I ever use the word tonguefish.
Tonguefish?
Tonguefish, yeah.
Tonguefish?
You never use the word there.
Never heard that.
No, this is okay. The same thing. Shellfish.
Shellfish.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, it's a tonguefish, yeah. And you ask your co-host what she think about it, and she said she think it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Did she say that?
That's correct.
Yes, but let me look on one other angle. It was a festival not inclusive.
It was all inclusive.
It was not all inclusive.
They invited the public at large.
Yeah, but he against the Adventist religion.
On Sunday?
No, shellfish and lobster.
Oh, you're talking about Leviticus.
Yes.
You're talking about Leviticus.
You notice you stop long to pick me up, so let me move on. let me move on quickly, because you stop long to pick me up.
Okay, gotcha.
Let me touch your last topic. And you're still bringing slavery again.
Mm-hmm.
Socrates, there's something that you talk about. That they happened thousands of years before the Atlantic slavery. Check back in the Bible and come down the road and all the stuff that you talk about. It don't happen. It happened at Moses' time. It happened at David's time. Slavery don't even James to come yet. You got the point of me, mate?
I'm listening, yes. You're making sense.
So me all time I want people, but you see, me try my best. Forget after the radio as much as possible, because every time I make one correction, people get upset.
Not Socrates,
because
not...
Trying to say, the real thing that are we supposed to blame, are we not blame them at all? The real thing that are we supposed to blame, are we not blame them? Are we blame things that distract from the real thing, and the real thing I get away. Anyway, me gone. Good.
Okay, sir, okay. What he's saying is the original sin.
Yeah.
We're not discussing the original sin.
Mm-hmm.
But the point he made about Leviticus,
mm-hmm.
He's very subtle with the way he presents his points. Yes. But in terms of the behavior, I know you can find in the Bible, Solomon having 1,000 wives, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
We're speaking about what happens today in our society.
Yes.
And we're asking why, where it can be traced to. We've not had a conversation. So even though these things may have happened in the Bible, pre the Atlantic slave trade, etc., why do young men behave a certain way? Why do women behave a certain way? Why would they accept certain things?
Yeah.
It was part of the conditioning that made us into people we are today.
Yes.
We're dealing with this specific time frame.
Yes.
And so we ought to have the conversation. Not to take away from what he said, it happened prior to the Atlantic slave trade.
Yeah.
But if we must address certain societal ills, we must be able to go to the root cause. Because we were interrupted. There was an interruption of the African people, which were transported into another society. Whatever time frame, unless you have a discussion about what happened, how it affected you, how you want to go forward, you're going to have flashbacks in many forms. So, point taken. So, shellfish,
Yes.
lobster,
Yes.
conchs, and such things are prohibited from eating. Conch? Yes, call the 11 verses. Things clean and unclean, you're not supposed to eat them.
Yes.
And I do have a reaction to eating like lobster and so on. Call the 11 voices in the midst of our conversation. Welcome to Voices. Go right ahead.
Good afternoon again, Socrates.
Good afternoon, sir.
Now, I listen, Africa, your partner, trying to avoid what I said about the wrong that's going on in Africa. Now, let me say this. He's saying that BBC and Al Jazeera only bring the wrong. So he's going to bring the good. Well, I'm going to tell him. That means he don't watch them because it have programs on those two stations because I don't watch CNN. And he have good programs about Africa that come on and BBC World, about Africa, about the economy of Africa. I know we know that Africa used to build cars. Did I get it? And they built some wonderful vehicles, some master pickups and cars and them things there. Here's where I get it. They talk about the oil, and they talk about it's like something like Wall Street. They tell you all that's going on, all the progress that's going on in Africa. Al Jazeera will do it. They have a whole program. BBC does it. They balance it out. They tell you about the good and they tell you about the bad. But I can call Africa. He and his partner, they only think about one thing. They don't want to tell you the wrong that's going on in Africa. They only tell you about the good. But BBC, they're trying to find fault to accuse BBC and Al Jazeera to say, oh, they just only bring the wrong, so we're going to bring the good. Well, I'm going to tell him, BBC and Al Jazeera to balance it out because I don't listen when I want to know what the progress in Africa. I watch CNN, not CNN, BBC World and Al Jazeera, and I get what I want.
Okay.
The cars, some beautiful pickups and beautiful this, the oil, the different things, they're calling names of the countries.
So they give it a good with the bad. They give it a good with the bad.
So tell him I said, go and watch and balance out his system.
I'm pretty sure he's listening. Thank you for your contribution. Okay, so we have the perception that one only want to present a certain image of Africa and not the other. So I think in this enlightened world, we have our choices if you really want to educate yourself. So
Exactly.
So.
And the programs are good because I do like BBC World News.
So do you watch CNN?
No, I try not to.
You watch Fox News?
Try not to.
There's that debate as, well, even here in the Federation, one station or the other represents a certain political view and not the other. So that happens, and people have their choices.
Exactly.
Here in Voices is called Voices. Anyone is free to call and express their views once they don't get personal.
Exactly.
We don't want to get into litigations, and the station has been on for some years. I recall I did a song called We Can't Substantiate That when Paul Ferguson was then the first moderator.
Gosh, I do remember him.
Yeah, and he would call. People would call and, you know, he would tell them, I can't substantiate that. He would protect the radio station. At one point, Granny, the bus driver, called him to tell him, it's raining in College Street. Tell people move the vehicles, this and that, because, you know, when the God comes down, it's like...
Yeah.
And Paul said, can't substantiate that. But Paul, you're in the studio, you can't see.
He cannot see the rain, so he cannot substantiate
He's not
it.
saying something that really could create, put the station in a bad light. He's saying, Paul, it's raining, torrential rain. I mean, down the God, 10 minutes here, Paul. Can't substantiate that.
That is his stance. If he cannot substantiate it, he cannot.
And I think sometime after that, we lost some 80-something vehicles as a result of such a
yeah, I've actually seen a vehicle
80
sort of
something.
stuck in the bridge.
One person lost their life on that given day.
Yeah.
And yes, so there are
That's
times
sad.
when in incident you have to, we have updated news, this is what? Not that you can substantiate that. But that was the standard.
That wasn't news.
Because then we used to have many callers who called because it was like a hot political station. Everybody called in and saw the issues. He had to be protective of the station's reputation. So caller, can't substantiate that.
I do remember him.
He was one of the first hosts of Voices. He was awesome. You know, so I cannot even attempt to walk in the shoes of Paul Ferguson. That is why I walk with help. That's why you're here. And Chris, let me see what he's saying now. So we have contribution from Chris. Connect with me, Minister of Culture. This is Brenda. Oh, she was giving some information about travel. From the travel industry, there are so many changes taking place. We have groups traveling the next few days, and we are scrambling to make sure they meet the new requirements in Jamaica. People are frightened by rumors that vaccinations may be required for international travel. It will be soon a year that has been going on, and the vaccine issue is very personal. I read it before. And then she says that we're going to Ghana in 9 days.
Okay.
There's a connection that the gentleman spoke about from Jamaica.
Yeah, Jamaica, Lagos, and then...
I think they would go to London, pick the month, and so I'm invited to go to Ghana. Imagine that.
There you go.
I connected with the Ministry of Culture there, and they have open arms. So the invitation has been extended. Who knows?
Lovely.
I am important.
I mean,
go to Ghana.
People have been... There are a lot of rumors going around, and it's so hard to pull... you know, the truth out of all these rumors that are going around. I don't know. I mean, I've not seen any official sources that people aren't going to be able to do international travel without the vaccine.
Okay. She says it's confusion. So there's there are no, how you say, official statement or position taken by Jamaica, but there was 2 weeks ago this discussion or conversation about having to have your vaccination first.
Okay.
Before maybe the host country is insisting you must have those requirements. As we entertain this call.
Good afternoon, caller.
I think I heard it on.
We lost it. We lost the call.
Okay. So we touched on the Shellfish Festival. Monsuat said we're not supposed to eat shellfish, and based on and there's a caller. He's having fun. He's glad to hear. Not a problem. Caller, you live on Voices.
Yes, Socrates.
Yes, so we're just calling him. But go ahead.
It is not confusion. Only thing is just a fall into place. It's fresh and it's new, so it's just a fall into place. So it look like confusion, but no confusion. Prophecy fulfilled.
Okay.
That's a one. Right?
Yes.
Okay. And pertaining to can't stand, stop, say that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
One action, because of the host action, it breed one reaction, so it makes Socrates get on topic on song. Okay
yes,
then?
I did the song. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I did a recording called Kinds of Subject, and it was very, very popular.
Okay.
Because it doesn't matter what you're calling with. But I said, of all the many calling programs in this country, if you want to talk popularity, is 98.9 WINN FM, Voices with Mr. Paul Ferguson, calling on any topics you choose.
Okay.
He'll invite you to express your views, but you're not to call people names, dishonor the fame. Well, here's how the thing get controversial. If you're calling on things really crucial, even though you're armed with the facts, he's telling you he can't substantiate that. I didn't boss, right?
There you go.
So yes,
How
thank you
long
for...
ago was that?
At least 12 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
At least 12 years.
Okay.
Right, and then there were so many issues, hot political potatoes at the time that were just going on, and WINN FM was the most popular program.
Okay.
Now, we don't have the... it was seen as the outlet for people who were then addressing the issues of the day with the past government. Now, the government has changed, and according to Clive Bacchus, I used to be the voice of the opposition. Now it changed. Caller 11 Voices.
Good day. I kind of missed the topic. What the topic is for today?
No, we didn't have a topic today. We're just throwing stuff out there.
So let's hear yours.
My thing is for persons to look around what's happening and recognize what we do and what we do not do can affect others. Even though one might say, yes, I have a right to do this and a right to say this. I also have a right not to hear and not to be affected by what you do or not do. You know, because there's a lot of things that are happening these days. Let me use, for example, driving. There are some persons who believe they could stop anywhere to do anything, and they have a right to do it. But I have a right to travel freely without being obstructed, unless it cannot be helped.
Correct. Yes.
That's just one example to use.
Yes.
The next thing is just that, you know, we have the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
You have a right not to wear the mask if you choose to, but there are consequences because there's a law now saying you must do it.
Yes.
But I also have a right not to be infected by you.
Exactly.
So
exposed to.
That's what I come from with the right, because some people say, oh, I have a right to this and I have a right to do that. That's not the problem. You have a right to do that, but I also have a right not to be affected by you in any way.
Yes.
Also, I know we have a program here. There's some persons who might want to come and, you say, okay, come and hear your views. You didn't say, come and tell us if this is the correct thing or not. But if I say the sky is, the sea is blue, and let's say somebody said the sea is blue, and I come in and say, well, okay, when you really look at it, the sea is not really blue, it's reflecting the sky.
Yes.
Now, somebody might come and say, I'm wrong. Now, you ask my view, my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some persons who do not, I don't think they understand the difference between an opinion and something that's supposed to be factual.
Same in the fact, yeah.
Evidential. So ask my opinion. My opinion could be factual. Likewise, I could be blowing it up a bit or diminishing whatever this subject area is. So I'm just saying that I'm talking about rights for persons to understand that. But however, is to remind persons that this situation that we are in, the pandemic, I'm not talking now for those of persons who believe in Jesus Christ, because the scripture says these days going to come, plagues going to come. Nobody said what type of plague. Also spoke about in the last days, the sun going to get 10 times hotter.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, just in the days of Noah, people going to be partying, marrying, giving into marriage and so forth until suddenly. So my saying with this part of the thing is not for everybody. Those persons who believe in Jesus Christ, the scripture says when we see these things, we must do what?
Prepare.
We must look up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to believe you guys went to church. The other thing I want to come to, it's so amazing to see when we talk about culture, and you know something we overlook? Part of the culture in St. Kitts and Nevis is actually Christianity, you know.
Yes.
It's Christianity. And some of the things we talk about, it was just a way of life. Let's just talk about cooking on stone and so. That is not culture. It was a way of life. Because even the white persons, before stove and all these things were invented, they were doing the same thing.
Yes.
Valid point.
As life continues, development comes.
Yes.
But listening sometimes to some person when they talk about culture and so forth, they're bringing all these things to be culture, but culture is something that passed down from generation to generation. And traditions.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's not all traditions and culture sometimes to be right. Because some persons could be passing on tradition, especially. Not everybody, but it could be the culture or the tradition for this family too. Let's say teach people mangoes and there's something going on, but is it correct to teach people mangoes? It's not.
Interesting.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want to bring. The next topic I want to go before I leave. There's a difference between knowing the past and living in the past.
Yes.
I'm going to bring it back. Now, any one of you might have been in a relationship. Would you agree or would you believe that it is all right for your past relationship to come back up in your present relationship? According to persons, as far as I know, that could have a negative impact on your present relationship, right?
Okay.
Right, but there's nothing wrong in knowing, look, whatever I used to do and never used to do in the past, or what the person used to do or whatever, I'm not going to let it happen to me again. Now take it back to life and experiences. It may not happen to us, it might have happened to your parents, your grandparents, but they're still living. But when you have to look at it, we haven't learned anything. Take a look, especially a lot of the Caribbean countries, and even right here in St. Kitts and Nevis. A lot of the things we proud of and say we now get it, going back through. Like a revolving door.
Okay.
You ever heard about there's a cycle in certain things?
Yes.
You might seem as if you're moving forward, advancing, or progressing, but then when you really look at the bit, hey, I just started here. You actually gone back around where you started.
Yeah.
And if you do not be careful, it's going to be sad because, you know what? We are more educated and more informed, but things that negatively that used to happen in the past is coming back around and doing the same thing again.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
That was just my opinion.
Well, as you said, apropos to what you call, so we want to appreciate that and your point of view. And there's also the issue of amnesia. So he drew the reference about a past relationship and a negative view with it, but coming around a second time, not remembering, because you get amnesia, you tend to make the same mistakes again. So it's the awareness that we're all about. It's the awareness of what happened in the past and how we should not let it affect you in a negative way. Now about the right to do certain things and how it affects other persons, I always say you have the right to do what you ought, not what you want. They're two different things.
Okay.
You're free to do what you ought, not what you want, because you have to take into consideration how it impacts other persons. And we got about 5 minutes left to go in the program, and the mic is yours. I'm going to shut up.
Really? Just like that?
You're in charge.
But I think you know, at the end of the day, yes, we have certain rights and we have certain privileges, but at the end of the day, we have to think about other people.
Responsibilities.
Our responsibility to others.
I was going to
It's okay. Our responsibility to, you know, ensure that, you know, our neighbors are safe, our families are safe, our communities are safe. And that also comes back to what we were talking about, you know, Keisha's plays, is that, you know, each community has a right and I think has a responsibility to highlight the things that are happening in the dark corners.
The phrase, our neighbors keepers, versus mind your own business.
Yes.
So where do we draw the line?
I think the line is very clear. You know, when you're minding people's business, it's very clear because you're interfering. But when you are doing something to protect a child or to protect
Abuse
a woman,
person.
then that's not about minding your own business. That's about a social responsibility.
Some people take it as that. In my business, she must be doing something wrong that he reaching us, so they stay out the business.
Really?
Yeah, people don't take that position.
So a grown woman is doing something wrong that a man has to beat her?
I am not saying
my father stopped beating me when I was 16.
But that is some of the position people take. In my business, she must be doing something wrong, so stay out of it. So that's where I ask, where do we draw the line? Your brother's keeper or mind your own business?
Your brother's keeper, yes.
That's doing what you ought.
Exactly.
That's doing what you ought, being free to do what you ought to do. You're supposed to be responsible, and we come to the rescue of that person.
Yes.
That's a distress call, and you need to. So you have to mind people's business.
Oh, I like minding people's business.
You have to mind people's business. Now,
yes.
I used to be walking home from school, kicking a milk can, walking home. And I thought, you can't do that, get home to parents. But they knew my parents are not. But everybody took a part in minding other people's business.
Other people's business, exactly.
Looking after your children, etc. So being free to do what you aren't, what you aren't, knowing the responsibility of you as an adult in society or not, to look out for your brother, your brother's keeper.
Exactly.
Because if you always take the position, well, aim a business, and you're to fasten people.
And then you know when you want somebody to be minding your business
really
because you're in danger, they're like, oh no, she doesn't mind people's business.
And that's why some person would have taken the position. They stop interfering with other people's children on the street because of the backlash, even at school. Disciplinarians used to look out for people's children and so on, but we've known people who have gone on the school grounds and fought teachers. You can't hit me, child, this and that and that. And so we have the new thinking of that. The new discipline, you cannot bring corporal punishment.
But how did that creep in?
Because we signed on to international conventions. to get certain grants, we as a nation would have signed on to certain conventions and adopted modalities of discipline that do not apply here to St Kitts and Nevis. Those practices do not work out there.
Okay.
They beat the parents, they divorce the parents, they take them to court and so on.
I know.
Are we going down that route?
Exactly.
Back in the early 60s, one of my 70s, one of my nieces who were living on St. Thomas took that attitude with her mother.
Ooh.
I'm going to report you, and my father said, whoa, 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 and he just got into it. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to envision doing that with my parents. That would have been a very short life.
Okay.
A very short life. So I remember once one of my friends, a little white girl, because I grew up in England, Kerry, and I used to go to her house for lunch occasionally once I reached a certain age. And the way she spoke to her mother was just awful. Yep. So I tried it. I tried it unsuccessfully, but it was worth a go.
A friend of mine in Boston was boasting to me that my mother hit me and I hit her right back. I said, and you're boasting about that? The culture, the difference.
Yes, yes.
The difference.
Yeah, it is.
My mother hit me and I hit her right back.
And
you're boasting about that?
Yeah.
Because what are you saying?
Because you know we'd have lost an arm.
As I said to my guests on tour, in your culture you have what you call timeouts.
Yes.
We have what you call knockouts. It's a big difference. On that note,
yes,
which deserve more discussion because people say, okay, you can't hit your child today, child abuse because you damage them. Yeah. Call me damaged. Calling at this point in time. Let's see if we can make it up in 6 seconds. Go right ahead.
Yes, I'm here enjoying that talk. And the issue of culture, I have always contested, We have an imposition of foreign culture and our own local culture.
Yeah.
Correct.
As I said one time, most of our psychologists studied in the U.S.
That is yes.
Of course, what they learn, you understand?
They imported.
Not the theories, the practical. And of course, when they come back, they impose it on our own culture. You remember the Dr. Spock thing?
Dr. Spock?
Yes.
Do we call that? Yes. And his son committed suicide and all that, yes.
And he created a whole generation of rebels. Up to now, they can't recover.
I'm not at that. But anyway, you are our last caller. We are 28 minutes up to 2 o'clock, so love your call. Yes.
Anyway, good afternoon to everybody.
Yes.
By the grace of God, we should be back tomorrow.
Yes,
God bless you, and thanks for your contribution once again.
God bless.
Take care.
Bye. Ella, maybe next week for you. So you see, we had a very, very, very nice discussion, and just cheer it according.
Are we still on air?
Found the sound 98.9 WINN FM.
Horseroads Building and Nevis Centers are making lawn and garden easy. Come to Horseroads Building and Nevis Center now and get 25% off store-wide on our entire lawn and garden department. Yes! For the months of February and March, Horseroads Building Center and Nevis Center is making improving your lawn and garden